welcome back to Emily A to Z. I'm Emily, and today's letter is J for January, and today I'm going to talk about my reading plans for January. I know my reading videos kind of fell off at the end of the year. I was not consistent, but I have a plan. Please also ignore the pile of clothing and the suitcase I have not put away from our trip. The suitcase is from the trip. The clothing is all the stuff that needs to go to donation. That needs to be done. Anyways. So with January comes my plans for the year, but I'm just going to cover January. But I do have this brand new reading journal that I bought a few months ago because I was looking for a new way to track stuff in 2025. If you remember, I had a big spreadsheet that I was using and that fell off in like May or June. I quit using my spreadsheet. It just was not, it became too much. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I still absolutely adore it, but I don't think I could use that as my primary method of tracking stuff anymore. It just became too hard. Versus this, it's small. It's showing up where I put lotion on my hands. But this I found off of Etsy from Wildflower Bookmarks. I'm going to show you. I really liked it. I will link it in my description down below. But I think this will be really handy for me. And if I still want to use my big giant spreadsheet, I will go back and like backfill that. I have no problem with that. So first and foremost, we've got an opening page. We've got a blank bookshelf. This holds like 90 books. I believe I counted that this holds 90 books. I'm hoping to read more than that, so we'll see. Then the next 12 pages are or 24 pages. The next pages are your book log. It's just a straightforward book log. You've got what number it is, a space for the title, start date, end date, and then your rating. Very simple. I love that. And so each month gets like a full double-sided page. So we'll go through that. They all look the exact same. And then after that, that was just this. We still have a whole bunch left. Then we have a page for your monthly stats. For each month, it is your books read, how many days read, pages read, and how many 5-star reads you had. Then we have a spread for a 50 book challenge and for a 100 book challenge. My plan is to just color them in for every single book that I've finished, not counting anything that I have DNF'd. I will write down the books that I've like started and DNF'd, but I'm only going to color them in if I have fully finished the book. Then we have two spreads for pages, two different versions. This is a page counter for the months are across the top here, and the number goes down, and then we have a block for 50 page marks starting from 1 to 50, 51 to 100, 101 to 150, 151 to 200, 201 to 250, 251 to 300, and 301 plus pages in a day. That very rarely happens for me. I really like this. The only problem is I do listen to a lot of audiobooks, and there isn't anything for audiobooks. So yeah, my goal is to read every single day in the month of January in some format, ideally the whole year, but I'm taking it one month at a time, every single day. If I listen to a book, but I don't physically read that day, I read a book, audiobook, but there's not a way for me to mark that. I would have to have like the physical book and the audiobook at the same time to compare how many pages, if that makes sense. So I haven't quite figured that out because the same thing on this side is also number of pages read, but this one is just straight up, you can write in your exact number. So this is a range, color in, give it each one a color it in. This is you write in the exact range, same thing, month across the top, dates down the side, and then this last column says notes. It's a very small column. I'm not sure what I would put there. So yeah. Then the next several pages are for like books you want to read kind of thing. So we have a whole page that is new releases, and there's a box for each month. I have written at the top here horror new releases. I do have a horror new release already picked for January, but I can't remember the title. It doesn't come out until January 7th. And it's currently at my job because I work at a library, and so I've seen it, but I didn't write it down, and I don't go back to work until later this week. So once I'm at work, I will take this with me and I will write it down, and that is the horror book for January. I want to try and read a horror book every month, a new horror book every month, because that way come, you know, the end of the year for like the Goodreads awards, I want to actually like try and participate this year and like vote for which book was my favorite. So yeah, hopefully I can do that. The next several pages, in fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The next 6 pages are all for book clubs. I have filled every single one of these out for a different book club. We have the family book club, and my pick for the family book club, I don't have a physical copy. I am listening to it, so I will pop up the cover over here, is Little Women. My sister-in-law picked it, and that is what we are reading for January. I am picking in February, and I think I already have my February pick, but I'm not going to share that right now. Then I have the next 2 are both challenges put on by my local library that I like to participate in every year. The first one is the Read with Pride book club, where they focus on reading queer fiction or queer literature. And actually, I have already read the January pick. The January pick is, I'll show you what the January pick is. It is The House in the Cerulean Sea, but I've already read this book. I actually read this in 2024. I gave it 5 stars. I loved it. The sequel is out. I do want to read the sequel to this. This is a great book. I love this book, but I've already read that. I do love that they're going to start off 2025. Sorry, Washington. You can come here. Don't lick yourself. He was snuggling my booty, and then I moved and he didn't like that. So instead, I just kind of flip-flopped it. I'm reading what would be the January book for 2024 for I'm reading what would be this year's December book in January of next year, since I've already read The House in the Cerulean Sea, which is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. I have never read it, but I'm going to. Then, and they've already announced February as well, but again, you gotta wait. But that is on my list. It has been on my list for a while to read, so I'm glad. Next is the online reading challenge. They do an online reading challenge every year. And again, these are not exclusive to only patrons of my local library. Obviously, you can join in if you want. That's why I post these videos, or go look at your library and see what kind of challenges they have for you. The app a lot of places are using is called Beanstack. You can look there. You can create a free account. You can connect, if your library is on there, you can connect your library to it, and it will auto-populate challenges for you as well. We have several. I will try and put them up on the screen if I haven't already, to show you an idea of what Beanstack does. It's also a way to track your reading, your books. It doesn't connect anywhere, but it's just kind of a nice little personal thing for you. I like to use it as my reading timer. Drink break, just water. Try to stay hydrated. But the online reading challenge for this year, each year has a theme. In the past, it was 2 years ago, 2023 was places. So they picked cities. 2024 was decades, fell off with that. The 2025 theme is genres. So every month they'll have a new genre. I have written down all of the genres already. January is literary fiction. They always have a pick. There's a book that they pick, and then they usually give a couple other recommendations that will also fit for the theme of the month. And sometimes I go completely rogue and I still find one that fits. I think I'm going to actually try and stay within their post. I don't need to add any extra work to myself. I think that's why I fell off, was I was so set on trying to find my own book, but they give me a list and I should just look at it. But they haven't released the 2025 list yet, so I don't actually know what the literary fiction is. But it's probably going to be intense. I don't read a lot of that. But I decided to try this because I don't read a lot of these genres, and I think it'll be a good way of getting me to try new things. The next 3 book clubs all go together. They are all from Kayla from Books and Lala. I am going to attempt to do her buzzword-a-thon, so her buzzword challenge, her buzzword cover challenge, and her Literally Dead book club. I'm going to try. I'm not as dead set on these last three, that's why they're at the end, but I'm still gonna try. So for January, for the buzzword challenge, it is either the thing is truth or lies. I can I link the video below? I will figure it out. I'll let you know. She has a whole video on her channel of explaining what it is, but for the month of January, it is truth or lies, and those words need to be in the title. So whether it is the word truth, whether it's the word lies, whether it's lying, you know, liar, stuff like that, it needs to be in the title. I have found the book The Body Lies by Jo Baker. This sounds so fascinating to me. I think it's going to be an interesting commentary on modern women and the dangers portrayed to modern women. It's all about like a writer, and she is like teaching a class, I believe, and one of her students starts submitting work where she, the professor, is the main character, and the student is placing her in like very not safe situations, and it's starting to blur the lines between what's real and what's not real. It sounds like a really cool thriller. I'm very interested in it. So I found that. Then her buzzword cover challenge, same thing, only this time she wants stuff on the cover of the book. And for January, the prompt is a pattern, some sort of repeating pattern on the book. I should also say, I didn't say it before, I am going to try and read from my bookshelf, from my physical TBR, as much as possible. I went through and counted how many books that I own that I have not read, and I have 78 books on my bookshelf. I know that that's not a lot compared to other people, but that's still a lot. That is the majority of my bookshelves are books that I have not read. And I really want to try and actually read from my shelves first. I say that every year, but damn it, I'm gonna try. Especially anything where it's open, where it's not been picked for me. So like Online Reading Challenge or the Pride one, those are picked for us. But if I can read from my own shelf, I'm going to try and do that. The first one that I actually get to do that with is this one. A repeating pattern is, hey, you've seen this before, is The Beekeeper's Apprentice, or On the Segregation of the Queen by Laurie R. King. This is following a retired Sherlock Holmes, and he meets like a young teenage girl, and they end up having to like solve a crime together. This is older. I didn't know this. This is apparently, like, this version is the 25th anniversary edition. My sister bought me this book for Christmas a couple of years ago, and it looks like it is part of a series. It does say the first Mary Russell novel, so I will look into that. And my thought on series this year is there's so many. Oh my god. Like, I just looked over here. The Mary Russell novels. I can't speak. Russell novels. The Beekeeper's Apprentice. A Monstrous Regiment of Women. A Letter of Mary. The Moor. O Jerusalem. Justice Hall. The Game. Locked Rooms. The Language of Bees. The God of the Hive. Beekeeping for Beginners, which is an e-novella. Pirate King. And Garment of Shadows. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Joy! There's so many. But my thought on series is, if I like the first book enough that I'm intrigued to continue this series, I will do that. But if I hit a point where I'm like not interested anymore, I'm not going to compel myself to keep reading the books if I'm not interested. I only want to read books that I want to read. I got really good with DNFing last year. If I hit a book and I was like, nope, I'm over it, I DNF'd it, and it was great. I want to also do that with series. Sometimes I feel like with series, I get really stuck where I'm like, I have to read it. I have to read the entire thing. But you also know I'm really bad about this. I will read a series, and then I will read all but the last book, and then refuse to read the last book. And I've done that with so many series that I also own on my bookshelves. So it's like, if I read a series and I like it and I want to read it, I need to read it and finish it. If I read a series and at any point I hit a wall and I'm done, I'm done. So if I like this, we'll try it. But This is the repeating pattern. I think it fits because of the honeycomb. Okay. And again, I also have all of the like things written down for that's really nice. I already have that ahead of time. I can start planning. Then her Literally Dead book club only runs 10 months out of the year. They take January and December off, so I have no book for January. Then this is another page, like the first one where it was new releases, only this is for book subscriptions. I don't currently have any book subscriptions. I have done like OwlCrate in the past. I don't currently have one, but I do have Prime First Reads, and I do count that as a subscription. I get something every month, so I'm going to write them down. Obviously, January hasn't been released yet because I'm filming this before January, but when I know, I will write it down, and again, hope I can read those. Those books also count as my TBR. I didn't count those. Oh, hell. So I have more than 78 books on my TBR because I'm counting those because I own them. I need to add that to my number and actually try and read those books. And if they have something on the cover or in the title that works, then hey, I didn't even look at those when I was going through this. I should probably do that. Anyways. Then the next couple pages are standard challenges. I think everyone has seen. We have two alphabet challenges here. We have an alphabet challenge for titles, and we have an alphabet challenge for author names. I usually do last names. My plan for this is to just fill it out with the books that I read as they fit. I think I will read more than this, but hopefully I can fill out every single letter with a book that I've read this year. Fingers crossed. I'm looking and I was like, do I have anything that fits already? I don't know, maybe, but I don't count articles. A, and, or the don't count, but yeah, we'll see. Then this book comes with its own buzzword challenge. Books with the following, it has its own, like, it has to have the prompts in the title, which I like. So then it, and I will use full transparency that if you are in Magical Stitches, I am using the next 2 pages to pull the Magical Stitches prompts. I got the idea after I ordered it and was like, I might as well use it. So let's try. So if you're in Magical Stitches, these are the same prompts. If you're not in Magical Stitches, but you want to join in reading with me, you can do so here. So January, the prompt is to have a color in the title, and that can be anything like blue, red, silver, gold, like whatever it is, a color in the title. My choice here is the Dark Lord Clementine, because Clementine is a pretty orange color, and orange is my favorite color. This is a book that I do own. Notice the blacked out barcode. It used to belong to the library. They do sell their books that they have withdrawn from the collection, and then they make them available to the public for like 25 cents. This is one that I picked for myself. It is a middle grade novel about Clementine, who her father is, yes, so her father is the Dark Lord, and she, even though she is the only heir to the Dark Lord, don't know, to this guy. Her job is, she's been raised her entire life as his heir to become the next evil overlord. I think something happens to her dad, and so she has to become the next like Dark Lord, and it's kind of her way of figuring out if that's what she wants to do or not. So that is this. I think I'm going to try and read it and then see if Kaden would also like to read this with me. This might be something we try and read together over the course of the month. We'll see. Then the next page is a book bingo board. There are 25 squares. In the middle here is a free space. I am kind of holding it a little bit back because I want to keep some of this to myself. I have highlighted 2 squares here because I did a random number generator, 1 through 25, and then what it popped up is what the books are. So for this month, it chose 22, which includes travel, meaning, and it says time or distance. So if your book is about time travel, go for it. If your book is about a distance that has been traveled. That counts too. It is up to interpretation. The book I have picked is Coup de Grace, or as some of my family would say, because we are from certain southern areas, Coup de Grace. Coup de Grace. I'm making fun of my family. It's fine. This is a short novella, I believe. It is a ARC. It is an advanced reader copy. And so that's why it says uncorrected, bound proof, not for resale. I do not have the final copy. I don't know when it was supposed to come out. It was supposed to come out in October of this year. But I am going to read this because this is all about someone, and this is very dark. I did read there is an author warning at the beginning of the novel, but this is about someone who is done with their life, and they have decided that they no longer want to be here, and so they make a plan, but something happens, and instead of but stepping off of the subway, he finds himself in an endless looping station. So this is kind of a Groundhog's Day situation, but I'm counting it as kind of like a weird time travel situation because it does open with them on a subway. They are traveling somewhere, they get there, but then they're stuck and they are looping and they're stuck in this like time loop, time travel kind of situation. So I'm counting this. The other number that was chosen was 16, and this is a new to you author. I went to my shelf and I grabbed just the very first book on my shelf, which is because I have them organized alphabetically, and that is Flawed by Cecilia Ahern. I have never read this. I have owned this for several years. This was an OwlCrate book that I got when I was in college that I never read. And this is all about... It seems like this is a... okay. This is all of like an advanced situation, kind of dystopian world where the emphasis is on being perfect, and our main character witnesses something or encounters a situation in which she makes an instinctive decision. She breaks a rule and now faces life-changing repercussions. She could be imprisoned, she could be branded, she could be found flawed. So yes, weird society where perfection is the norm or the expectation, and if you are not perfect, bad things happen. I believe this is also the first book in a series. It is also a debut novel, so I had never read anything from her. I've never heard anything from her. And that'll be one of those things where if I like it, we'll see how the series goes, and if not, whatever. This is a YA book. If you've never heard of OwlCrate, OwlCrate is a subscription that does YA books. That is that. I think we're reaching the end of... Those are the ends of like what I'm trying to read this month. I know that was a lot. I think that's like 10 different things. I am confident. I read a lot of audiobooks. I've kind of slacked at work. I need to get back into listening to audiobooks while I am at work and then reading physical books at night. The next couple pages are several other bingo boards that I'm not going to use for any particular like reason unless I absolutely have to, but there's a romance reader bingo. I don't read a lot of romance, but if I do read a romance book this year, or I grab some do sound interesting to me. It's just not my normal go-to. I'll fill it out. I'll just see what happens, but I'm not putting pressure on myself to fill this out. The other side is a thriller reader bingo, and it's the same thing. There are different tropes in each of these boards. So some examples we've got for romance reader, we have enemies to lovers, forced proximity, fake dating. But then there's also stuff where like this is a thrifted or library book. This has a pink or red on the cover. A romance published this year. So like stuff like that. On thriller, we've got, you know, it's a true crime podcast is involved. It's about a serial killer published this year. So some of these are fun because I think I could use that in general, but like, you know, thriller published this year, found through social media, recommended to you, and same thing, new to you author, return to their hometown, set near a house or a lake. So some of these, very fun. And then the last bingo is a fantasy reader bingo. So we've got Fight for a Throne, Competition or Games. There's wings on the cover. Witches and Wizards, over 500 pages. Stuff like that. Very fun as well. And then the next several pages, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pages of, I'll show you a blank one, series trackers. And it has like what number this in the series it is, book title, what day you finished it, there's no start date, day finished, and then a rating. The other book for Magical Stitches, we are reading A Series of Unfortunate Events. I've written the series name at the top here. I combined the first two because there are 13 books. There are only 12 lines, so I just put the first two on the same line. And you can do that. So for January for Magical Stitches, the book of the month, because our theme is A Series of Unfortunate Events, is to read the entirety of The Bad Beginning and then to read the first half, chapters 1 through 7 of The Reptile Room. If you want to go ahead and read the whole book, that's totally fine. Some people are listening to it as an audiobook and they only have it for so many days, etc., etc. Feel free to finish the book. It's only like required that you read the first half because I'm only doing prompts for stitching through the first half. That's a whole other video that I think we'll have where I will go over all of the stitchy stuff for Magical Stitches. So 11 pages of series trackers, which is very handy. I like that. Then we get into like trackers for data, which that's the thing, is like I liked that about my spreadsheet, but it got too much. And I like that it's all going to be here in one spot. So starting off, we have a star rating tracker. So it's got the 1 through 5 stars here. You put tally marks, and then this says if you would like to color code the tallies by month, and so then each month has its own like box. So you could theoretically, January's blue, and every blue then it represents that month, and so on. Then we have a genre tracker. It was blank. There are spaces for 11 genres. I picked 11 genres and wrote them down. So we have classic, fantasy, graphic novel or manga, historical, horror, literary fiction, mystery, romance, science fiction, thriller, and then nonfiction at the bottom. I know there are genres of nonfiction, but I don't read a lot of nonfiction, but in case I do, I'm just going to lump them all together. Then the next 12 pages are spending trackers. I doubt I will use these. I don't buy books every single month. I get a lot of my books from the library or I borrow them. So I don't buy a lot of books. I do buy books at the end of the year as gifts for people, but I'm not a big book buyer, surprisingly. I get gifted a lot of books. I don't buy a lot for myself. But if this is something you would use, I'll go over it. So every month has its own page. This says January at the top here. We have your date of your purchase, your amount that you spent, the number of books bought, and then where you got them from. So it says store or app. So if you went to a physical store or if you ordered them off of, say, Amazon or like Pango Books. And then at the bottom, you have the total number of books that you bought. And then over here is your total, this column is your total spent way over here. So again, 12 pages, there's one for each month. After that, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pages for quotes. So there's 2 quotes per page. So 22, if I did my math right. Each one has a block for what page number, and then this is for the title, and then several lines for the quote, which is handy. I always like that. At the very end then, we're getting down to it. We've got 2 of these like competition charts. This is book of the year. So you would write down your favorite book of each month and then, bracket style. These 2 books face off against each other. These 2, and then whoever won here, and then they go against each other, leading down to this. The ending here, though, is you've got 3 against each other. So then you would have to pick your favorite of your top 3. And then this is the space where you write your book of the year. On the other page, I've never done one of these, so I think this would be interesting to try. This is a battle of the characters. Choose your favorite bookish character each month. And I like that you could get something completely different, right? This is your favorite book. But what if you loved a character from a book that's not your favorite book? Like, I love that concept. So you could end up with, like, your favorite book is, my example, say my favorite book of 2024 was The House in the Cerulean Sea. But say my favorite character ended up being Jude Duarte, right? From the Folk of the Air series, right? So like completely different, but the same concept. You make them battle each other. You get down to your favorite character of the year. And then the very last page is your end of year summary. See, now I have to go change this because I have the wrong number. So the end of the year summary is books read, how many 5-star reads you had, how many pages you read. Then you have 3 spots for your top 3 favorite books. Then you have a spot for your favorite author, which is different from this spot, which is your most read author. Then you have a spot for your most read genre. And then down here we have your physical TBR beginning of the year, which is where I have 78, which we now know is not true. I have to go count all of my ebooks that I own. And then at the end of the year, where you end up, your physical TBR at the end of the year. And hopefully this number is lower than this number, but we'll find out. Okay. And that is that. I've shown you my reading journal and I've gone over what I will be reading this month. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and let's get this year started. I will see you all. I keep forgetting my own outro because I haven't done it in so long. I will see you all very, very soon. In the meantime, happy reading, happy listening, happy watching, happy stitching, happy doing whatever it is that makes you happy doing. Be easy with your hearts.